Oh, we are live. Okay, right after saying that I don't see anywhere ever that it says go live, I actually do see that we are live. Hi, everybody.
Hi, guys.
Welcome. We will give you guys a minute as everybody is coming in and then excited to get started. I'm Henley. I'm one of the co-founders of Fora, and you can see the wonderful, the beautiful, the famous Nancy Deane um, next to me, who is who we are celebrating today. And I'm really excited for her to share her story of her journey from publishing to award winning and we'll talk about this, actual award winning travel advising. Yes, you can win awards for being a killer travel agent, as you should be able to do. So just a reminder before we get started, we will go through this. We're going to talk a bit about Nancy and her background and sort of how she used what she'd learned in another career to shift this over into being one of Fora's top travel advisors, really one of the industry's top travel advisors. Throw your questions into the comments. We will be monitoring that. And then we're going to try and save some time at the end so that we can live answer any questions, because I think it's a really special opportunity to be able to chat with somebody like Nancy, who is like new-ish to the industry, but has just like shot up. I think sometimes, as travel agents, it's like the people who are the stars are like people who have done this for 20 years and they've forgotten what it's like to be new. And Nancy just like built an incredible career really quickly. And so it's a wonderful opportunity for you guys who are thinking about travel advising as a job that you're interested in doing, to actually be able to like talk to her and ask questions. Talk to her, and by talk to her I mean typing. We're not going to come off mute. Talk to her and ask some questions about like what's like her secret sauce. How is she so amazing as she is? So just quickly, we are doing this right now because this is International Women's Month, and we are Women's History Month, and we had International Women's Day recently, and we're celebrating women, which is something we kind of do all the time at Fora and all the time in travel, because travel advising is really has always been a very female-led industry. So what better way to continue that celebration than bringing on Nancy Deane? So like I said, she is one of our top advisors. She's also one of the industry's top advisors, and she was just announced for the second time as a Condé Nast top specialist. So this isn't once. It's not a fluke. She's so good, they gave it to her a second time. So we're just so proud of her. Nancy, thank you so much for taking the time out from, I know, a very busy schedule to join us.
Thank you, Henley. I really appreciate that lovely introduction.
So just briefly about me, I'm Henley. I'm one of the co-founders of Fora. I have been a travel agent. I don't know if we're supposed to say travel advisor. I say travel agent because then people know what I do. Same diff. For basically my whole career. So I've been doing this for about 20 years. I've been in travel, and I love this job. And I really started Fora because I love this industry so much, and I want to think about how we sort of modernize it and bring it into the next generation of travel advisors. And Nancy, can you say a little bit about your background?
Yes. So I have been travel adjacent for quite some time. I used to work in publishing for many years. I started off in children's publishing, and then moved on to Chronicle Books, which many people know, based in San Francisco. And I oversaw the lifestyle category, where travel was part of that. And fast forward to then moving to New York City, and I fell into editorial. I used to run the website and editorial for a community of working moms called Hey Mama, which many people know me from. And then during the pandemic, I came back to California and really fell into travel advising. I feel like it was a merging of past careers and passions into one. It was a dream come true. But truth be told, I did not completely understand what I was signing up for whenever I said yes. Fora was still so new in the beginning. One of my dear friends who I credit to bringing me to Fora, Amanda Blakely, is also a travel writer, which I was doing a little bit in New York as well. And she asked me to come on board and be an expert for Palm Springs, which is where I have a second home. And so all of that, I said, yes, I'd love to be an expert. And I don't think I quite realized that I was signing up to sell the world. But now I love to say that I sell everything from Bahamas to Bhutan and everything in between. So it's been a journey, but it's fabulous. And I absolutely love it.
And I love the way you said it, that it's like, it really is, this is the job, is it's like you come into it thinking like, well, I really know this one place. And then in the end, it is Bahamas to Bhutan, it's staycations, it's safaris, it's everything, which is part of what keeps this job so exciting. It doesn't ever get boring because there's always something new to learn, but it's also like a unique challenge. Like you kind of, yes, you become an expert, but you're always expected to be knowing something new and keeping up on what's going on. So given that sort of like drinking from a fire hose situation in terms of travel knowledge, how did you, like, what is the secret? How did you go from somebody who was brand new at this, kind of popped into it thinking like, yeah, I'll talk about Palm Springs, I love Palm Springs, to being a Condé Nast top specialist so quickly?
I think, again, it goes back to a real organic, natural progression with all of the things that I knew and loved. I am a very curious person, which I think many of us are in the industry. I am, a self-proclaimed professional wanderer. I said that prior to even coming on board with Fora. So I feel like it was in the stars or in the cards that this is where I ended up. It's something that I just love exploring. I love seeing new places. I didn't travel at all when I was a kid. And so I think the furthest I went was to Disney World, which was a really big deal. And I have a very similar background to you, I think, Henley, where, it was not fancy and it was not frequent, but I think all of that led me to wanting to get out there and explore. And so when my husband and I started to have, a bit of a disposable income, we just got out there and started traveling. And then I have 12-year-old twins, and it was really important to me when my kids were little to continue to take them wherever we like to go. I'm not a big resort style person where I just want to shove them in kids club, which sometimes is fun, sometimes is good. But I do definitely think that it's worthwhile to take your kids, out there in the world and experience new things. And so, I think it was just my background in wanting to see everything. But then, tying that back into how do you know everything about everywhere? You can't. But I think that the beauty about Fora and the community that you've built is that everybody here is really so wonderful and generous with their time and with their knowledge. And we're constantly sharing information back and forth. And so even if I have a client that's interested in somewhere like Bhutan where I've never been, you and I had a chat because you had just gotten back from Bhutan, and we worked on their itinerary together. So we have a lot of experts and resources that we can call upon. So I am constantly learning every day. I can't be everywhere, but I am trying.
You are trying. And I think that it's important that the community aspect of it too, it really is this, like, we want this to be a community of collaboration, not competition. There are some sharp elbows in this industry. I actually saw a question come in that said, can men succeed at this opportunity? Like, absolutely. Let's bring more men in, because sometimes there's too many mean girls in the room. Anybody can succeed in this. But at Fora, it's the people who are collaborating as a community. So when we see Nancy as a Condé Nast top specialist, we are all celebrating that win. That is something that we all as a community feel so proud of. It's not something where other people are going, well, why didn't I get that? Because we all sort of build our books of business on top of the knowledge of this network. So knowing that, like, none of us, 20 years, I don't know everything. I can, the other day I put in a chat with a bunch of us, like, is there any secret to finding sold out Anne Frank tickets? I don't think so. And it turns out, I think maybe there's not. But I have an immediate group to bounce ideas off of. And it's just, it's inspiring to see so much travel knowledge, which is out there actually being brought into the industry, rather than people kind of repeating what was already sort of like known to travel advisors, but coming in with a lot of different backgrounds and different goals too, in terms of what kind of travel. Now, the key, obviously, to building a business is you have to like find that business. So can you share some insights, like your network? How did you do it when you were like, okay, I gotta get my first clients? Because this is or you say it's an eat what you kill kind of industry. If you want to build a big business, you actually have to find enough people to become your customers. How did you turn to your network, and in a way that felt really like authentic to you? You're not some cheesy, used car salesperson. How did you use that network to become like, your book of business?
I think that's really important. I think, I do what feels organic to me. I am not somebody who has, a lot of advisors have asked me, or new advisors have asked me, I haven't gotten started because I don't have my website built yet, or I haven't gotten started because I don't have my LLC set up, or whatever it is that's sort of their roadblock. And truth be told, I completely jumped into this really blindfolded. I did not, like I said, I did not understand kind of what I was getting into. And I think part of my secret sauce that I like to say is that it is very organic, and it is an extension of what I am known for and what I do on a day-to-day anyways. My friends and family know me as someone who loves to travel. And so it was a really natural progression. I think that I'm really lucky in that I grew up in Canada. I lived in New York, where I have a lot of clients that are New York based to this day. I now live in California. And again, I get out there and I meet a lot of people. So I think that for me specifically, Instagram has been my number one driver of traffic and clientele. But it really is my own friend group. And you can't be afraid to reach out to somebody. Hey, what are you doing this weekend? Oh my gosh, you're going to Napa. How cool. Did you know that if you book through me, I can upgrade you and I can add these perks and I can make you feel like a VIP. And so there's a way to do that without coming across as cheesy or pushy. And, I don't do a ton of email marketing, although Fora has a really amazing e-marketing campaign that you can plug in every single month, which is awesome. And I have used it. But, for me, it really is just focusing on my network that I have. And you never know who that one person is that's going to want to do a safari or, do something that you can help them with.
Yeah, I think there's so many travelers out there in the world, and lots of them, most of them, as a matter of fact, don't realize that travel agents are like still a thing. So they don't think to turn to a travel advisor. So like just part of doing this and being successful is being willing to be like, I exist. This is an industry. It's relevant. There's like a data point that I love, which is that only 8% of hotel bookings worldwide are actually booked by travel agents. So it's like, even if we double the size of the industry, there's so many people who will never know that we exist. So you have to be sort of constantly pushing out to your network. Like, I do this, I have value, book with me. It can be exhausting, but clearly when you do it like Nancy did, which is just like being herself, it can be very successful.
Yeah.
So, okay, the problem with being very successful is, of course, then you end up with like lots of clients.
Yeah.
How do you manage, like you come from a culture of excellence, you want things to be perfect for everybody. How do you juggle that with life? Like, do you work 24 hours a day?
Yes, I do. No. I do. I do work long hours, but again, I really feel so fortunate in that I am doing what I love. And so it does not feel like work. Like I said, I have 12-year-old twins, and so I'm also a mom, and so I'm juggling a lot. But I have a really supportive husband, and thank goodness he cooks, and he's a great dad, and he's really involved. And so it does take a balance, to have somebody that you can rely on when I am out there traveling the world. But there's ways that you can set boundaries for yourself. You can choose what kind of clients or how many clients you take on, which is kind of the beauty of it. I personally am trying to service as many as I can because it really does bring me joy. But it really is something that you can manage yourself in terms of how much you want to take on at any given time. There's also some really incredible, I don't know if they're apps, but tools that are for the industry that I rely on. We've got obviously the Fora forum, which is invaluable. We have WhatsApp chats between us Fora advisors, which are pinging all day long, but there's so much good information in that all day. Always. And but thank goodness for that, because there's always somebody available at our fingertips, which is so cool. There's different programs that I use, from scheduling things to itinerary builders. So there's lots of things that we have at our fingertips to keep organized.
Yeah. And all of that has like catapulted you to twice Condé Nast top specialist. Is this like a goal? I mean, I've actually never asked you this question. Is this, when you were getting started, did you know, I mean, you come from publishing, so you'd seen this stuff. Were you like, I want to get there? Or was it something that just sort of came by surprise?
Maybe twofold. I mean, I love magazines still to this day. They're something that bring me so much joy. Sad that they're a dying industry, but I do really love it. And so, it's something to definitely strive for. If I'm going to do something, I do try to be really good at it. A personal goal, but I don't think I really did set out. Like I said, I really did fall into this. And so it was never something that I even had a plan or, long-term goals for. It did kind of just take me by surprise. I did apply for it and I got it. And, thank you to whoever said yes. But it's been a really nice thing to have. And I think that it also shows, yes, I have only been doing this for 2 years, but I do take it very seriously. It is a career for me. And I've been able to build that up pretty quickly. So it's nice to have that seal of approval.
I do. And it's nice to have that seal of approval. I mean, it's like something that I brag about a lot within the industry, because I think, one of the things that we set out to prove is that people can be new to this and they can bring like new energy and know-how, and like they're true professionals. Just because they weren't doing it before doesn't mean they're not going to be dead serious about this. In fact, they may be more serious about this because they're working to build that up. So it's something that we brag about on your behalf all the time as well. So now, but now that you've gotten there, do you like, what's next? And then I'll make sure that we leave some time for questions, but what is next for you when you think about like, all right, how would I want to change my business 2 years from now?
I think what's next is building a team. I've got enough business that I can have people work alongside me. It is something that I think I'm probably going to do in the next little bit. I think building a team is probably where things are headed, which I never expected at all.
Yeah. It's sort of wild, right? To think like you came into this and now you're going to be an employer in this industry. Like that's a very, it's a very big transition to think about coming in and starting your business. And I saw that somebody had asked a question about how you're paid, which is, it is by commission. So it's very akin to real estate, where it's like, when I say you eat what you kill, you do. Like, you book more travel, you make more money. So to get to the point where you have booked enough and you're earning enough commission to start being able to actually offer jobs to people is like, it's a lot of pressure, and it's like a wild realization of like success. You are doing that well that you can afford to hire somebody. And then you get to like actually pass along that opportunity to somebody else, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah. And I really love the idea, Fora really does celebrate, and you touched upon this. We really do celebrate people that come from all sorts of backgrounds. I met someone recently who was a Fora advisor who is a doctor in her full-time job. There's a Fora advisor I sat beside at dinner last night at the Design Hotel's dinner, and she, works in finance. So we have architects, we have lawyers, we have people that are doing such incredible things in their day to day. And it's those learnings that they're bringing to those chats that we're all having, where if I say, hey, I have someone who's really interested in architecture and they're going to Barcelona, what should they do? One of the advisors can pop in and be like, you should do this, this, this. I can hook you up with this person. And so we're really able to curate pretty amazing experiences for our clients because of how robust and how unique the Fora community is.
Yeah, I see a good question that sort of dovetails into this. When you think about all of this, how do you split your time? So you've got client acquisition, you've got travel research, you've got follow up, like you've got putting out fires. Like how do you sort of divide your time between all of that?
I don't have a set schedule. I don't have, on Mondays I do itineraries, on Tuesdays I do research kind of thing. It really is, like you said, different day by day and even hour to hour. And so you just have to learn how to prioritize. But again, I've worked in, this is again is where my past career working in a fast paced environment has definitely been able to help me identify what things are most important. I do pride myself on getting back to people very quickly. I do try to get through as much inquiries or inbound stuff as I can. And if I can't, then I just, set expectations and let people know that it'll be a few days, but then I'm on it.
And what would you say if it's like advice to people who are coming into this that have those other jobs? So they also work in finance or they're also a doctor, but they are like you, sort of that go-to person in their network for travel and are like, I'd really like to do this. I can't do this full time right now. Any advice?
Yeah, I mean, I did not set out doing this full time. I was working for a friend's interior design company whenever I first started. It was something that it just happened. So I don't have a lot of advice for doing that, where luckily the project we were working on was ending while my career in travel was sort of taking off. And so it was a really natural progression. But for people that, want to do this full time, it is something that it's commission based. Of course. And so it'll take a little time for you to start building up your business. But I always say that after you've been doing this for maybe a year or so, you'll start to see that calendar filling in on, like, you maybe booked something 3 months ago, but you're getting paid out now because you get paid after the person checks out. So as time goes on, more bookings fill in to the calendar, if that makes any sense. And so you start making more money the longer you've been in the industry, because things start to compound on top of each other. So I may be booking something for, next week, but I also probably booked something for next week 3 months ago, and they're both going to be hitting at the same time. So you start to see that income start rolling. And I think once you have that going, then you can probably make the transition.
Yeah. And I should say also, you don't have to make the transition. We have really great advisors who do other things too, and they love doing those other things and they're not about to leave them, or they make so much money doing those other things that they're not going to like stop working at Google and do this, but they do both. So it really is like at Fora, it is up to you. You get to build the business that you want. We will support you. The big difference, I'd say, is that like what if you want to level up and be going to industry conferences, to fam trips, all of that, then you have to build up that business to more of like industry standards. But if you want to be in the community and like share and talk and book a little bit, cool. You don't ever have the pressure to have to get up to that point. That's fine too. I see a really good question in the chat about selling destinations you haven't been to, which is something that you and I do constantly. I actually, the other day, I was like talking to somebody at work about somewhere, and I was like, bugga, like told them the whole thing. And my co-founder, Evan, was right next to me, and he was like, oh, that sounds really cool. And I think, I've never been. And even like, he hears me do this stuff all the time. He's like, no, seriously? And I'm like, yeah, I know. It's like my party trick. What, like coming in, you start to accumulate this knowledge, but how do you feel really confident talking to people about places you haven't been to? Because you can't go everywhere.
I call a friend. I ask my my Fora community, oh my gosh, I'm about to get on a call about this place. What do you guys know? I may have a side call with somebody within the community to give me the download. But we also have a lot of amazing partners. So we work with people called DMCs, destination management specialists, that are based all around the world, and they are our experts in those cities or places. So, Bhutan is a great example, which I have never been to. I knew nothing about it other than the fact that it was a happy place. And I was about to sell this very expensive trip to a client. And I reached out to the community. They directed me to a DMC that we like to work with. And so I reached out to them, and as luck would have it, they happened to be in San Francisco, from Bhutan, which it was meant to be at that time. And so we met up for coffee, and, he spread out all his maps and gave me the download, and I really could have a knowledgeable discussion with my client. Obviously, it does make it easier if you've been to the place. It makes it more fun to sell because you can be like, oh, and then you have to go to this cookie place that's down the street. And, you have those inside things. And so, I think one of the things that I love to do is I love Instagram. I love Instagram stories. Maybe it's my like Achilles heel. I don't know. I like it. It brings me joy. And so I do have a film degree, but I think that, being able to document and just being out there and really showing people that you are somebody that is on the go, I think that that's really important. And so, if somebody invites you to their cottage for the weekend, say yes, go. It might not be somewhere that you've been before. It might open up new experiences, and put that on your Instagram. And then people will start being like, oh, she's always on the go. She knows stuff. So I feel like, that's how you can kind of build up your knowledge and your content, which is just really be out there and exploring in the world.
Yeah, I think that is true. It's like when you have the chance to travel, do the travel, but also know that there's always somebody there that's going to be able to have an answer. Like with this community, it's like there's always somebody who's just been or has a client there right now, or we have a partner there. We have partners everywhere. And then we also do something called destination debriefs. It's sort of a training on a particular destination. We run them every Friday, and we edit them, and we have materials around them, and then we share them out in our training portal. So that way, like Bhutan is a good example. I came back from Bhutan. I did one. So if somebody asks, you on a weekend, what do they need to know about Bhutan? And you don't happen to have a DMC that's showing up in San Francisco to have coffee with you, you can go on, watch it, and then be able to like regurgitate some of this information, have marketing assets around it if you want to put it out there. All of that to make you look like the expert, even when you have to lean on others, which, like, by the way, we all do. Even if you've been to Greece 5 times, you still don't know everything. So there's always the need for more support around it. But it certainly is easier if you're out there, because you don't have to stay in the 5-star hotel to be at your friend's cottage, but walk into the lobby, look around and go, oh, okay, I get it here. So there's always ways to gather more knowledge, which is a good lead into this question. What skill sets are required to join this industry?
Well, we touched upon curiosity. I think that that's really important because there's a lot of research involved. And if you don't care or you're not interested in learning more about places, then that's going to be challenging for you. Mm-hmm. Because every single day I'm learning something new. But I always, tell people, go easy on yourself, because you really can't know everything about everywhere in the world. And so, pick something that's interesting to you. Even if you don't have clients or interest in a new place, there, like you're saying, there's all of these trainings that we have. So every single week there's a new training for a different destination. And, even if I don't have a ton of interest in a particular destination, I'll try and watch those, because you never know when you're going to get an inquiry for somewhere, Norway or whatever, somewhere that you've never been, that has never really been on your list before, but suddenly everyone wants to go there this summer. And so thank goodness I watched a training, because now I have a little bit of knowledge. I think you need to be exceptionally organized. There's a lot of lists and a lot of emails and a lot of spreadsheets just to keep track of everything. But also just be somebody who is not afraid to be a self-starter. It is an industry where a lot of things are changing constantly. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of places, obviously, as we talked about. But you really need to kind of just go for it. And I remember the very first booking that I made, I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm going to make a mistake. And I had my friend who had me join Fora on the call with me as I booked it online. Cause I was like, I just press enter. And she showed it really is that easy. But, I think that not being afraid to jump in or to say, hey, I'm new at this. Can you help me? Or I'm not exactly sure what you're saying. Can you clarify? Just sort of being an advocate, a self-starter, somebody who is willing to share information. I think that's a key one as well. You talked a little bit about, the mean girls or, that collaborative spirit that we have here at Fora, not the mean girls. We have the collaborative spirit. And so, really just reminding yourself that there's people that were just like you and they're starting in this industry in something that you remember was so overwhelming and you knew nothing and you probably asked really stupid questions and I was never made to feel like I was stupid. And so just remembering that there really is a lot to learn and just be gentle with yourself, but also get out there and ask. If somebody's asking about, I'll use Palm Springs on Forum, which is our internal message board, then be, vocal on there. Hey, I lived there. I know all about it. Let me know if you want to chat. Just being very generous with your time because it will come back tenfold to you.
Totally. I think we are all people. So you have to like love being around people. I mean, who doesn't want to be sitting around talking to Nancy? So why don't we'll go on. I know we are basically at time. So I want to share, I know there's some people on the call who have already applied. And then there's some of you who are thinking about applying. And so we will be sending out information. So watch your inboxes at the end of this. You do have a code word. So if you are one of the people on here where you have joined because you're curious, you're not really sure if this is for you, and now you've decided, please use the code word travel specialist when you are filling out your application, because the waitlist is rather long. I don't even know how long. It's scary long at this moment. So please put travel specialist in as your code word, because that'll enable our team to pull your application up. We're going to search by that so that we can get back to you more quickly. I encourage you in your applications, be really specific, be opinionated. When it asks your favorite hotels, don't say Marriott and Hilton, like which one and why. That is how you become good at this, is you have opinions and you're thoughtful, and you're kind of like in search of perfection. So we'd love to know really what your thoughts are around travel. For those of you who have already applied, well, you're in here because we liked your application. So let us know if you have any questions, but yes, watch your inbox. And we look forward to having more of you in the community. It's a fun place to be. It's a fun job to do. We love working together. And we want lots more people to come in and do this job with us, so that we have lots more people to ask questions to when these things come up. So welcome. Thank you everybody for joining. And we hope you all have a great weekend. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. Thank you.